The four major beer producers in Japan are Asahi, Kirin, Sapporo, and Suntory, producing mainly pale-colored light lagers with an alcohol strength of around 5.0% ABV. Pilsner-style lagers are the most commonly produced beer style in Japan, but beer-like beverages, made with lower levels of malts called happoshu or non-malt happōsei, have captured a large part of the market, as tax is substantially lower on these products. Microbreweries have also gained increasing popularity since deregulation in 1994, supplying distinct tasting beers in a variety of styles that seek to match the emphasis on craftsmanship, quality, and ingredient provenance often associated with Japanese food. Craft beer bars and pubs have also increased in popularity in Japan's major cities, with cities such as Tokyo and Osaka have very vibrant craft beer bar scenes, generally with a focus on local and U.S. craft beers. In late 2014, Kirin announced its entry into the craft beer segment with the launch of a wholly owned subsidiary, Spring Valley Brewing, with 2 brewpubs in Takayama, Tokyo, and Namamuji, Yokohama. These both officially opened in 2015. Industrial brewery Sapporo also announced its release of a craft line in early 2015. History: beer in Japan had its start in the 17th century during the Edo period, when Dutch traders stationed at Dejima in Nagasaki opened a beer hall for sailors working the trade route between Japan and the Dutch Empire. As Japan reopened to foreign trade during the Meiji period, imported beers such as base pale ale and bar stout were available in limited quantities in the foreign settlements, but trained brewers from Europe and elsewhere also arrived to contribute to the growth of the local industry. The brewery that would become Kirin Brewery Company began in Yokohama in late 1869 as the Spring Valley Brewery, a private business established by Norwegian-American, William Copeland. The Sapporo Brewery was founded in 1876 as a part of a government-directed development plan for Hokkaido. Asahi Breweries traces its founding heritage to the start of the Osaka Beer Brewing Company in 1889, and the launch of the Asahi beer brand in 1892. Market size: beer or beer-like happoshu beverages are the most popular alcoholic drink in Japan, accounting for nearly 2/3 of the 9 billion liters of alcohol consumed in 2006. Japan's domestic consumption of the total 187.37 million kiloliter global beer markets in 2012 was about 5.55 million kiloliters, or about 3.0%. This statistic for total beer consumption in Japan also includes beer-like low-malt beer and no-malt beer products. In terms of national per capita beer consumption, Japan ranked 40th in 2012, equivalent to 43.5 liters per person, reflecting the diversified alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverage market enjoyed by Japanese consumers. Demographic factors are expected to continue to push down sales of mass-market beer products in Japan for the foreseeable future, as younger consumers are drinking less beer than previous generations. For the calendar year 2013, overall shipments for Japan's 5 largest brewers were 433.57 million cases, more than 20% of the market peak achieved in 1992. However, for locally produced craft beers accounting for less than 1% of domestic beer consumption and selected premium imported beers, market opportunities continue to expand. According to local market data, in the first 8 months of 2012, shipments of domestic craft beer rose 7.7%, while sales by Japan's largest brewers continued a year-on-year decline. As of January 2014, Asahi, with a 38% market share, was the largest of the 4 major beer producers in Japan, followed by Kirin with 35% and Suntory with 15%. Beer classification: due to the Japanese taxation system, the varieties of brewed malt beverages in Japan are categorized into 2 groupings, beer and happoshu. The distinction is made based on the amount of malt used relative to grain adjuncts, with the term happoshu ascribed to low malt brews. Japanese regulations forbid the use of the word beer to describe brews containing less than 67% malt. Since 2004, Japanese breweries have produced even lower taxed, non-malt brews made from soybeans and other ingredients which do not fit the classifications for beer or happoshu. Dubbed third-category beers, they are officially classified as other miscellaneous alcohol, or liqueur. Major Japanese beer producers and their products: Asahi Breweries, Kirin Brewery Company, Sapporo Brewery, Suntory, Suntory Malts, Suntory, the Premium Malts, Super Magnum Dry, Orion. Dry Wars The dry Sensawara Florin, a Florin W Permo meaning dry wars, was a period of intense competition between Japanese brewery companies over dry beer. It began in 1987 with the launch of Asahi Super Dry by Asahi Breweries, which led to the introduction of dry beer by other breweries. The Kirin Brewery Company, which held 50% share of the Japanese domestic beer market, launched Kirin Dry in February 1988 in an advertising campaign featuring actor Gene Hackman, and in April of the same year launched the all-malt Kirin Malt Dry. However, they were unable to stop Asahi's unregistered trademark's momentum. In 1990 Kirin launched Ikebun in direct competition with Asahi Super Dry, but ended up cannibalizing profits on their own Kirin lager beer brand. Kirin never ended up regaining its 50% market share. Sapporo Breweries launched a doomed Sapporo Dry in February 1988, and in May 1989 rebranded their flagship product Sapporo Black Label as Sapporo Draft to an unfavorable reception. Production of Sapporo Dry and Sapporo Draft was halted less than 2 years after their respective launches, and Sapporo Draft later returned to being Black Label. Suntory launched their malts brand in February 1988 in an I Don't Do Dry campaign, while at the same time launching Suntory Dry, later rebranded Suntory Dry 5.5 in an advertising campaign featuring boxer Mike Tyson after increasing the alcohol content from 5% to 5.5%. This achieved reasonable results, although not enough to slow down demand of Asahi Super Dry. The Dry Wars were criticized in an episode of the manga Oishinbo, published at around the time of the saga. Seasonal beers Many breweries in Japan offer seasonal beers. In autumn, for instance, autumn beers are brewed with a higher alcohol content, typically 6% as opposed to the common 5% of Asahi Super Dry. For example, Kirin's Akaioji beer. The beer cans are typically decorated with pictures of autumn leaves, and the beers are advertised as being suitable for drinking with neighbor mono. Similarly in winter, beers such as Fu Monogatari appear. Microbreweries In 1994, Japan's strict tax laws were relaxed, allowing smaller breweries producing 60,000 liters per year for a beer license or 6,000 kiloliters per year for a happoshu license. Before this change, breweries could not get a license without producing at least 2 million liters per year. As a result, a number of smaller breweries have been established throughout Japan. After a relaxation of tax laws in the early 1990s, the commonly used term for microbrew in Japan was jibaru, or local beer, although Japanese microbrew industry professionals are increasingly using the name craft beer in their labels and marketing literature. There are currently over 200 microbreweries in Japan, although many in this number are financially tied to larger sake producers, restaurant chains, resort hotels or similar. Microbreweries in Japan produce various styles of beer including ales, IPAs, stout, Pilsner, Weissbier, car paragraph LSCH, fruit beers and others. After the relaxation of the liquor tax law in 1994, there was an initial boom in microbrewing, but the quality of regional microbrews were often mixed and initial consumer enthusiasm leveled off. The popularity of low-cost happoshu, compared to the high-cost microbrews, forced a number of early microbreweries out of business. The dominance of the major industrial brewers and the relative high cost and low volume involved in producing micros led to their only being known to a small number of beer enthusiasts. In the 2000s, however, thanks to factors such as licensed production for some bar and restaurant chains, cooperation between microbreweries, and a more educated consumer base, craft beer has seen a more sustained rise in domestic demand. Improved product quality, word-of-mouth marketing facilitated by social media websites, the attention given to the rise of U.S.-based craft brewing industry and the growth of independent craft beer retail outlets in major cities, have all contributed to the recent success enjoyed by Japanese craft brewers. Today there are a growing number of regional microbrew festivals held throughout Japan, including the Great Japan Beer Festival series held annually in Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya and Yokohama. Every year, the Japan Craft Beer Association holds the Japan Beer Cup, while a competing organization, Japan Craft Beer Support, has launched the annual Nippon Craft Beer Festival. Partial list of Japanese microbreweries Teisetsuji Baru, winner of many awards including the Japan Beer Grand Prix, Furano G Bakushu, Wakutsuki Baru, Tokachi Baru, Otaru Baru, Kami Baru, Ernuma Baru, Hakodate Baru, Tazawako Baru, the first microbrew in Akita Prefecture, Ginga Kijin Baru, Miyamori Baru, Ashigo Beer, Nasu Kijin Baru, Kuchi Brewery producer of Hitashino Nest Beer, Sankt Gallen Brewing, Gotenba Kijin Baru, Baird Brewing Company, Outsider Brewery, Yoho Brewing, Nagahama Roman Baru, Manu Brewery, Aoji Baru, Rocco Biru, Doppo, Matsuji Baru, Daisenji Baru, Hidiji Baru a squared radian per square second of florin a florin 1/4 of florin, Zumina Baru, Ishigakajima Baru, previously Daxpa Currency U, since 1997, Nohti Baru since 2001, Miyakojima G Baru since 2010, Helios Baru since 1996. Methods of distribution. The legal drinking age in Japan is 20 years old. Other than in serviced restaurants and bars, beer can be purchased at a wide variety of outlets, including supermarkets, convenience stores, and kiosks at train stations. Beer can be consumed almost anywhere, however Japan has very strict laws against operating a motor vehicle or riding a bicycle after or during the consumption of alcohol. In Japan, beer can also be sold in vending machines although, as of 2012, this has become much less common in major cities. Some vending machines have motion-activated advertising that displays on small TV screens embedded into them. They play beer commercials and jingles that are seen on TV and heard on the radio. These vending machines began to be phased out in June 2000, mainly over the concerns of underage drinking. Japanese beers available outside Japan. Japanese-style commercial brewing and beer products have been successfully exported worldwide or are produced locally under license and are distributed in a number of overseas markets. In the U.S., 3 of the 4 major Japanese brands are available. These include Sapporo Draft, Kirin Ichiban, and Asahi Super Dry. Asahi is produced by Molson in Canada, Kirin is produced at an Anheuser-Busch facility in Los Angeles, and Sapporo is produced at a Sapporo-owned brewery in Guelph, Ontario, Canada. Suntory beer is not available. Orion beer is also available, imported from Okinawa Prefecture. Availability of brands depends on an individual state's liquor laws, resulting in some beers being available in some places and others not. For example, in Oklahoma, Asahi Super Dry, Sapporo, and Orion are available, whereas in Texas, Kirin Ichiban is prevalent. Kuchi Brewery was the first Japanese microbrewery to export beer from Japan. Many other Japanese microbreweries now export to North America, Europe, Australia, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Home brewing. Although it is technically illegal in Japan to produce beverages containing more than 1% alcohol without a license, the law is rarely adhered to for home brewers, and home brewing supplies are available from high street stores and websites. Japanese beer in popular culture. Beer features heavily in any Japanese manga or anime series where adults drink alcohol. Often, though, to avoid copyright issues, the artists either leave the labels off the bottles or alter the name slightly. Moyashiman is a manga which illustrates the production methods of a wide variety of Japanese sakes, including Nihonshu and Awamori. The entire volume 8 of the manga is dedicated to Japanese local beers. The last few pages of the volume list various microbrew beers, including Preston Ale, Koido, and Nagiza beer. Preston Ale is produced by Joyful Honda Company, which is a corporate umbrella that owns brands in a wide variety of industries like furniture and pet supplies. One such brand is Preston Cafe, which has its own line of house beers, branded as Preston Ale, and brewed in Utsunomiya. Preston Cafe has a Moyashiman line of beers, with the manga characters on the label. In December 2010, there was a Moyashiman Presents Preston Ale end-of-year party event at the UDX building in Akihabara, Tokyo, which included artist signings and servings of Preston Ale. Copies of the manga and manga-related toys were also on sale. Happoshu beer is featured in the manga and anime series Neon Genesis Evangelion. It is enjoyed exclusively by the character Misato Katsuragi. See also: Beer and breweries by region. References. External links: The Japan Beer Times, a bilingual magazine and website for Japanese craft beer, Brewers Association of Japan, Directory of Japanese Brewers, Agri-Food Canada, 2, Home Brewing in Japan, United Nations of Beer, Japanese Beer Brands Guide.